Thanks for staying with us. So joining to discuss the cyber security amongst young people is a multiple award-winning cybersecurity advisor for boards and business organizations. He's one of the youngest persons to get invited to the Forbes Technology Council and has over 11 international recognized professional IT certifications. Welcome with us, Dr. Fene Osakwe. Good morning, Dr. Fene. Are you there?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Good, good. So before we even get so into this conversation on cybersecurity, one of the most prevalent issues people have is their phones, which is like the access way for many people into their accounts and their emails and all that. Let's start with the common one that we hear, that when your phone is stolen, what's the first thing you do to avoid people getting into your accounts, into your email and your information and all your data? What's the first thing you must do?
All right. So thank you for having me, and good morning again. I think, probably we even step back before it is stolen. What have you put in place? Okay, so security really comes in layers. I would always say, and this is best practice now, that there's something called multi-factor authentication. What that means is that you create a layer above your regular password. Okay, so for example, to log into your internet banking, you put in your password, but then there's a token that comes. Okay, that's now multi-factor. So that's another layer. So even if someone gets access to your password, they need your token. Okay, so that's an extra layer. So most times, for your WhatsApp, for example, you will see a couple of times WhatsApp is bringing these options for you to be able to create, a multi-factor. Your emails, I don't want to call the names, but any of the big email brands, okay, they ask you to set up some of these things, but some of us are not too concerned. But those are actually the things that help protect the information eventually if it gets to the wrong hands.
Okay, sir. So there's also another trend of people hacking into your social media accounts. I've seen a lot of people who've lost their accounts, and some are not able to get it back. What are some of the things that we can begin to do when people ask for certain information? For instance, you go on this website and then they're asking for this and that, and before you realize it, they've used it to hack one of your social media accounts. How can we be more careful? What are some of the strategies we can put in place to avoid this? Is it there?
Hello, I think we've lost him. Hello, sir, are you there? Okay, so
we call cyber hygiene. So generally, there's something we call cyber hygiene. Okay. So almost the same way you have certain steps you take every day to make sure that your house is clean, your kitchen is neat. There are certain things about cyber hygiene that we just need to take seriously. But talking about social media, people get into your social media accounts and people's accounts get hacked and all these type of things, and different sites are asking for different things. In the world today, okay, the biggest, and this is with empirical data now, the number one trend in terms of how people get or steal your credentials, okay, is called phishing. And phishing in very basic terms is really someone trying to fake like they are a trusted party and then try to get your personal information from you. Most of the times it happens through emails. Okay, so you see something like click on this link in order to change your password. Sometimes this is coming from a website you have nothing to do with. Sometimes this is coming from a bank that you actually do not even bank with. Sometimes it carries the name of your bank, but if you look closer at the email, you would see that what we call the domain name has probably changed. So sometimes we see things like, instead of .com, for example, bankabc.com, you see things like bankabc.com. Okay, fine. There are now security solutions that a lot of organizations have invested in at the corporate level that help detect those things. But just as a regular user going on, you need to be very careful what you click on, because because there's another threat called clickjacking. And what clickjacking is it's a transparent frame that is put on a website deliberate to steal your credentials when you click on it. So you think that you're liking a picture, but there's a transparent object that is there that you can't see. That once you click on it, it steals your credential. And most times, this is how, online, our people, we lose our credentials without knowing, or things like that. So organizations and individuals now need to do some sort of investment to make sure that your systems have some tools and some intelligence to be able to prevent and detect some of those things.
What difference does this square-looking code thing that you just, once you take a picture of it with your phone, what's it called again?
To scan.
To scan, yes. To scan that code thing. What difference does it bring into this whole entire frame?
Was that QR code?
Your QR code, yes.
And so it doesn't bring, it doesn't necessarily bring any difference. So, for example, if I send you a QR code that probably is to lead you to what we call a malicious site, right? Which is a site where the objective is really to steal your credentials or something. Just going to the website itself may not be a problem. The challenge is, and many times, these things are to exploit greed. The challenge is when you scan the code and get there, and you're seeing something like impute your card details to be able to access XYZ, then, at that point, they are going to steal your credentials. I got an email 2 days ago from someone saying that their mother just died in the US, and she left an inheritance of over $100 million.
Why are you telling me?
And that she left it for him. Sorry?
So why is the person giving you that information? Are you the cousin?
Let me learn with the story. Exactly. So this is good because immediately you're not greedy, right? So that's why you think so. So the person's mother left him $100 million in the story, and he has been allowed to share it to different people who have been doing good charity causes across the world. Okay. Then the story goes further. So it was a very long email. Then the story goes further to say, I need to just send my account details to this particular email address through this link. Now, if I was actually a greedy person, you would try to exploit a little, right? To see where that leads to. But I already know that this is just the modus operandi of these people. The first thing they try to exploit is your greed. So, yes. So, and the danger with some of these clicks is, while some of them, as soon as you click on them, like a lot of the big ones that we hear about across the world, as soon as you click on some of these things, it has the capability to steal your username and password. A lot more of them, they direct you to a website where they now tell you to impute your username and password. And the moment you do that...
Dr. Kenneth, many of us, we have a fair idea that most of these emails that come in could be fraudulent, but there are other people, maybe like our mothers or people who are not totally completely educated, who they might not have access to emails, but they get some on their phones.
Yeah, text messages.
What are some common mistakes that we must avoid making in parents clicking on scenes on their phone or WhatsApp? Because most of them are on WhatsApp messages. Everybody, my auntie, always say, we got something from WhatsApp. Look at him, let me check. They are constantly disturbing you for things on WhatsApp. How do we block these unnecessary messages that come through the phone?
Thank you. So, look, the truth is, anybody that tells you that it's a silver bullet to solving all the cybersecurity risks and threats is really not telling the truth, just because there's none. There are just several things we can do. One of them really and is awareness. Okay, we even at the biggest, at the highest levels, awareness and advocacy is still a major mitigant to a lot of the cybersecurity threats. What you just described is what they call smishing. So, or, it's from SMS, or it's a WhatsApp message. You see forwarded 10 times, 10 people will be blessed. So all these type of things with all sorts of links and things like that. So it's really awareness, is advocacy. I also, have very elderly people and parents in 70s and 80s who would also ask, because they are now, we have said it a few times and they have heard and they understand it, they will ask, should I? should I not? I just got this from XYZ. What do you think? Okay, it's really awareness and advocacy. You know, you really can't do more than that. If you go install some of the very technical tools on their systems, you know, it also now gives them a challenge just, you know, performing their day-to-day work. So it's really awareness.
Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing with our expert in cybersecurity. Nima had a question.
Yes, I wanted to ask, you know, I had to resolve something for an elderly person. I don't know how his SIM was done, but once he turns on his phone, an SMS goes to a foreign number every day for which he was debited. And he was asking me to resolve it. I swear to God, I didn't know what to do. I kept calling customer care, and they did not know what to do. Whenever he turns on his phone, that a call dials out to a foreign number and is debited from his credit. Then there was this flash call that would come from a foreign number from an unknown country into his phone, just like that. And if he tries to pick it or try to call back, he will get a tone message, something like that, like an automated message. How, you know, risky is this? What is the implication of it?
Thank you. So some of these things, you know, just because one doesn't have the entire picture. So, I mean, one of the things that I do when one of the things we do is digital forensic. There's just a ton of information you need to get to be able to give proper advice on when it comes to very specific issues. But what I would say generally, especially around the phone call thing, okay, the fact that a number appears to come from another country does not mean the person is not in the door or in the house just next to you.
Are you for it?
Okay, there are tools that can be used to fake country numbers.
Wow.
I think some of them are actually even free online. Okay, so it doesn't mean that it's international. It doesn't mean it doesn't follow any of that. And also with regards to the other SIM thing, there are SIM swap frauds that happen a couple of times that SIMs are swapped and all those type of things. So look, it has actually even happened to me. Sometimes we sound infallible. One of the reasons, there are several reasons. One of the reasons why I went into this field, a couple of years back, I was in Lagos. I was, preparing for a Sunday service, very in the spirit and all those things. And then I was in somewhere in Lagos called Airport Road, Ajao Estate. And then I got a debit alert from Surulere, from an ATM machine. And so all my Sunday morning spirits just started coming down. Because initially the first thought is, did I do a transaction there and I just got, and this was like 10 years ago, then there were limits of 20K. I don't know how many of us can remember that time, okay, with ATMs. Then I got the second one, 20K again.
Hey.
At that point, I dropped my Bible, I dropped everything, said, no, there's a problem. This was the time where you could only withdraw 3 times in a day. There were these 3, and you could just. Yes. So while I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? What do I do? I got the 3rd one, the final one for today. And I mean, I was just a fresh graduate from school and all these things. I mean, that was probably all I had at that period. The bank now does not really exist. It was taken over by one of the other banks. But by the time we did all the fighting and everything, they were showing you all these tiny, tiny things in these forms that you signed that we didn't really read, and there was not too much responsibility on them. And the camera at the ATM wasn't working, and all these things. So I mean, these are some of the challenges.
All right, Dr.
Thankfully, I think.
This is your Forbes Technology Council thing. What are some of the trends? I mean, I know you're part of that council. Tell us a bit about that, and what are some of the trends that has been discussed in that council?
Yeah, so Forbes Technology Council really is it's an invitation-only council for global technology professionals, across the world. So pretty much they vet and be sure that you are a thought leader globally before you are invited and then accepted. And thankfully that happened for me this year. What are some of the cybersecurity trends that that I see generally? So we spoke about phishing already, and just because empirical data supports that. Another trend that we see, which you would have heard a lot about, is is malware, which is really just malicious software. So it's software that is written with malicious intentions. One of them, for example, is what is generally called ransomware, which is a malicious software that encrypts your system and demands for ransom, and then they release a key to you that then decrypts the system, okay, and decrypts your data. Now, people have made a lot of money, especially in the Western world and across, you know, with that sort of thing. So that's a trend we see that will continue, because a lot of the widely reported cybersecurity breaches now, especially in the US and places like that, they were ransomware attacks. Okay. Another one that we see happening a lot now is what is called credential stuffing. So your credentials, which is what your username and password, what you use to log in generally, credential stuffing is saying that multiple websites that we all visit, for some reason, we seem to have the same password on a lot of those websites. So when you hear that an airline has been hacked, okay, and data has been stolen, what credential stuffing attack does is that data is sold on somewhere called the dark web, okay? That's a different conversation for another day. And so people take that data and take your username now on maybe a retail website and go and try that password that has been sold from that airline on that website. And so it's called stuffing, and you keep stuffing and trying it. And what the statistics say now is that on retail websites globally, okay, 90% of the attempted logins on retail websites globally are as a result of credential stuffing. Wow. So we see that trend most likely really just continue. And of course, the last one, which you know is pretty obvious, when it comes to cybersecurity talent, there's a massive shortage globally, and we see that trend most likely will continue.
Oh wow! Thank you so much, Dr. Arakwe, for joining us. I mean, this is quite enlightening and revealing. So we have knowledge, but obviously something that we cannot complete today. We need to continue to learn more about this, because this is a new world we live in. We have to know how to protect our data. But thank you very much, sir, for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll discuss suicide. Stay with us. We'll be right back.